Ladies and gentlemen, kids of all ages, good afternoon. Welcome to the 63rd Annual Torrance Armed Forces Day Parade. My name is Emmett Miller. I'll be your tour guide this afternoon. Before we get started, I'd like to ask you to please join me in wishing a very happy 250th birthday to the United States Army, our military branch of honor today. The best and the brightest the Army has to offer will be on full display this afternoon, as well as more information on them, their storied history, and what they do for our country every day of the week, every week of the year, along with all the other branches of the armed forces, including the marching bands, commemorative aircraft flyovers, of which we're expecting one any moment now, so keep your eyes and your ears peeled, and the world-famous mass oath of enlistment. So buckle up. It's going to be quite a day. Stay warm, stay dry. The 63rd Annual Torrance Armed Forces Day Parade is getting underway. Ladies and gentlemen, in the distance, before the parade gets started, I'd like to introduce the Torrance Police Department Motor Detail. Established in 1928, the City of Torrance was one of the first agencies in Los Angeles County to adopt a motor detail. Duties include traffic enforcement, DUI enforcement, fighting crime within the City of Torrance. And today, the motor detail is being assisted by the motor officers from the cities of El Segundo, Manhattan Beach, and Redondo Beach. Please give them a warm welcome as they approach. As we watch the motor detail, if you keep your ears peeled and your eyes peeled, you'll see overhead a C-53D Sky Trooper, which is the D-Day doll, one of the first to cross the English Channel and deliver paratroopers behind enemy lines the night before D-Day. It's owned by the Commemorative Air Force Inland Empire Wing in Riverside. Craig O'Mara is at the controls. Ladies and gentlemen, the Torrance Police Motor Detail. And the motor detail is followed by the Joint Services Color Guard, commanded by Sergeant First Class Jack Lloyd Carino. National Colors, presented by Christopher Mills. United States Army Colors, presented by Sergeant Matthew Kamey. Marine Corps Flag, presented by Sergeant Maurice Lynn. United States Navy Flag, Petty Officer First Class Pablo Garcia. United States Air Force Flag is presented by Staff Sergeant Wayne Swirek. The United States Coast Guard flag is presented by Specialist Third Class Petty Officer Kirsten Riley. And ladies and gentlemen, a warm welcome from our Grand Marshal. This year's Grand Marshal of the 63rd Annual Torrance Armed Forces Day Parade is Lieutenant General Jonathan Braga, a native of Attleboro, Massachusetts. Lieutenant General Braga assumed command of the United States Special Forces Command on August 12, 2021. Before that, he served as the Deputy Commanding General, United States Army Pacific in 2020, and before that as the Commander of Special Operations Command Pacific. Our Honorary Grand Marshal, ladies and gentlemen, actress Katey Segal. Actor, musician, known for iconic roles on Married with Children, Sons of Anarchy, and Futurama. Riding with her, Kurt Sutter, the creator of the series Sons of Anarchy. Warm welcome and thank you for joining us today. And approaching in the red convertible, our co-honorary Grand Marshal, actor Michael Jai White. He's an actor, director, martial artist, the first African-American to portray a major comic book superhero in a major motion picture. Al Simmons, you may remember him, the protagonist in the '97 film Spall. A highly trained martial artist and actor. He's broken the barriers as a Hollywood star, and we welcome him here today. Ladies and gentlemen, as we await the 300th Army Band, see approaching the distance, I want to once again wish a happy 250th birthday to the United States Army. The Army, born out of necessity during the American Revolution, the Continental Congress established this unified fighting force under General George Washington. From securing victory at Georgetown to defending the young nation in the War of 1812, the Army quickly became a symbol of resilience, and throughout the 19th century, safeguarded the nation's growth, playing a key role in westward expansion, leading the Union forces to victory in the Civil War, preserving the United States. The Army was established 14th June 1775 to fight against the British for independence during the American Revolution, and they consider themselves a continuation of the Continental Army. Thus, its institutional inception is the origin of that armed force in 1775. Once again, happy birthday, U.S. Army. The band you see approaching is the 300th Army Band. This is Southern California's only reserve band, an exceptional ensemble, subordinate unit of the 63rd Readiness Division, headquartered in Mountain View. Under the direction of Chief Warrant Officer 3, Jeff Smith, providing musical support for military ceremonies, community engagements, educational outreach events across the 7-state region of the American Southwest. This is a highly disciplined Army Reserve unit. Their mission is to foster public support for the armed forces, share in the Army's story through music, and support diplomatic and humanitarian efforts worldwide. The 300th Army Band, Hollywood's own. Ladies and gentlemen, the 300th Army Band. And approaching in the blue Mercedes convertible, it's our mayor, George Chen. Ladies and gentlemen, a warm welcome. Elected to the City Council June 8th, 2018. Elected mayor June 7th, 2022. Mayor Chen, a resident of Torrance for 33 years, and riding with him today, his wife, Amy Chen, the drivers, United States Air Force veteran Kevin Hetrick, and the passengers, United States Air Force Lieutenant Colonel Alan Wigdall. In Mayor Chen's own words, it's an honor to serve the residents of Torrance and participate in the annual Armed Service Day events. Thank you to all of those who have served and are currently serving in the armed force. Mayor George Chen. Number one. Number one. Ladies and gentlemen, Councilmember Bridget Lewis. Appointed to the City Council August 2022, elected for a full term in March of 2024. Been a resident of Torrance since 2005, riding with her today, United States Army Sergeant First Class David Hepburn and her grandson, Caden. Councilmember Lewis writes, my favorite city event of all times is the Armed Forces Day Parade and all of the weekend events. And ladies and gentlemen, right behind us, we see the North American Aviation T-6 Texans. A preeminent trainer for the U.S. forces throughout World War II and beyond. Manufactured in Inglewood. Pilots above us are John Colliver and Steve Rose. Ladies and gentlemen, Council Member Assam Sheikh. Elected City Council June 7th, 2022, Councilmember Sheikh has been a resident of Torrance for 16 years, and riding with him today is spouse Jill Bonilla, their daughter Sarah Sheikh, and friend Andrew Mariscal. Councilmember Sheikh writes, grateful for the dedication of all of the men and women in uniform. You're true heroes. Thank you for your unwavering service. Happy Armed Forces Day. God bless America, and God bless the great city of Torrance. Councilman Sheikh. Approaching the podium as we speak, our council member Sharon Kalani. Warm welcome. Elected to the City Council in March of 2020, re-elected in 2024. Councilmember Kalani has been a resident of Torrance for 44 years. And riding with her today is her spouse, Omid Kalani, and guest, Army veteran Donald Ray Frew Jr. Councilmember Kalani says she rides through today's celebration carrying a powerful message, one of inspiration for youth, especially young women. She encourages them not just to break glass ceilings, but to rise with boldness, challenging every boundary, lead with heart. Her journey is guided by hope, driven by justice. Councilmember Kalani. And arriving at the podium, someone I'd like to call my friend, Councilmember Aurelio Matucci. Elected to the City Council June 2018, re-elected June 2022. Councilmember Matucci's been a resident of Torrance for 20 plus years, and riding with him today, his mother, Maria Pia. Councilmember Matucci says he holds a profound admiration for the armed forces, their unwavering dedication, unwavering sacrifices, and safeguarding not only the United States, but also our allies and friends across the globe. Councilmember Aurelio Matucci. And ladies and gentlemen, you see him in the distance, elected to the City Council in June of 2022. Our council member, John Kaji. Warm welcome, please. Councilmember Kaji has been a resident of Torrance for 15 plus years. And riding with him today is his wife, Lisa Kaji, friends Les Higa and Michael Bosak. Councilmember Kaji writes, my father served in the United States Army during World War II. Thank you for his service. Thank you for your service, sir. And welcome to the parade. Councilmember John Kaji. And it appears to be one of the coldest days that we've seen in our parade history. The City of Torrance, one of the few cities in the nation designated by the U.S. Department of Defense to hold an Armed Forces Day celebration, but we didn't count on weather like this. And approaching the podium, Councilmember Jeremy Garrison. Elected to the City Council March 5th, 2024, Councilmember Garrison, a resident of Torrance for 39 years, riding with him today, his wife, Dr. Jennifer Garrison, their daughter, Aurora, and son, William. Councilmember Garrison was a Torrance High School graduate, a former Torrance teacher, and a former Torrance School Board member. Councilman Garrison. Our esteemed and beloved City Clerk, Rebecca Poirier. Ladies and gentlemen. First elected City Clerk June 2014, re-elected both 2018 and 2022. City Clerk Poirier, a resident of Torrance for 17 years. And riding with her today is community volunteer Michelle Polcari. Her friend Steve Polcari, serving as her driver today, is Mr. Bob Habel, who I know personally as one of the most dedicated and generous volunteers we have at the Torrance Police Department. City Clerk Poirier writes, I volunteer in dog rescue, and I have 3 rescued Boston Terriers. City Clerk Poirier. And ladies and gentlemen, approaching the podium, one of the fixtures in the Torrance Armed Services Day Parade, our Congressman Ted Lieu. Congressman Lieu is serving his 6th term in Congress, formerly serving in the California State Legislature and on the Torrance City Council. Congressman Lieu also previously served in the U.S. Air Force on active duty. Thank you for your service, sir. And as a member of the Air Force Reserves, retiring in 2021 as a colonel, Congressman Lieu is riding with his son, Brennan. Welcome to the parade, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, may I present to you California State Assembly Member Al Maritsucci. Wisely choosing the covered vehicle today. Sunroof open nonetheless. California Assembly Member Al Maritsucci, representing the 66th Assembly District, located in the South Bay, an educator, former Torrance School Board member, president, and champion for public education. Mr. Maritsucci serves as chair of the Assembly Education Committee, previously serving on the Military and Veterans Affairs Committee, fighting to transform public schools. Assembly Member Al Maritsucci. As we welcome our dignitaries, we're expecting overhead an L-19 bird dog owned by Robert Lang of Costa Mesa. If you hear engine roaring, that's who it'll be. Meanwhile, approaching in the silver convertible, Colonel Lane Bomar. Warm welcome, please. Colonel Lane Bomar is a native of San Francisco, graduating from the University of California, Davis in 1999, commissioned as an armor officer. After graduation from the Armor Officer Basic Course, Colonel Bomar was assigned to the National Training Center, serving as a tank platoon leader in A Troop, 1st Squadron, 11th Armored Cavalry Regiment. He's had a number of assignments, including 2 deployments to Iraq. His awards and decorations include the Bronze Star, the Defense Meritorious Service Medal, the Meritorious Service Medal, and the Combat Action Badge. Welcome, Colonel Bomar.
Hello, my name is Staff Sergeant Robert McIntosh. I am the U.S. Army Reserve Training and Operations NCO for the 222nd Broadcast Operations Detachment. And I do want to give a shout out to soldiers that we have currently deployed in Kuwait. The 301st Public Affairs Detachment, we have 6 soldiers currently overseas, and we want them all to come back safely.
And ladies and gentlemen, may I present to you Brigadier General Earl Chip Sparks. Here we have the Commanding General, Brigadier General Earl Sparks, along with Command Sergeant Major Christy Hawkins, representing the 311th Sustainment Command Expeditionary of the United States Army Reserve, headquartered in Los Angeles. The 311th commands and controls units, elements, activities, providing operational and tactical level combat service support to forces across the spectrum of operations, providing distribution management to forces in coordination with the Theater Sustainment Command. The 311th, their most recent deployment was Kuwait, 2020 to 2021, supporting Operation Enduring Freedom. Earl Chip Sparks, Brigadier General. Ladies and gentlemen. And ladies and gentlemen, Major General William J. Pendergast, the 4th. Major General William Prendergast, Commanding General of the 40th Infantry Division, California Army National Guard. Major General Prendergast has commanded the 40th Infantry Division since November 2024. Welcome, sir.
My name is First Lieutenant Tim Yao, and I'm a Public Affairs Officer with the Army Reserve. I'd just like to give a shout out to all my reserve soldiers out there. You guys are living that dual lifestyle, and I know it can be difficult, but really proud of you guys for doing what you do and to keep going.
And ladies and gentlemen, a warm welcome to Sergeant Major Valentine Monroy. Sergeant Major Monroy, born in Turlock, enlisting in the Marine Corps, 2003, over 2 decades of distinguished service. Sergeant Major Monroy has held key leadership roles in administration, training, combat operations, deploying multiple times in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom, Freedom Sentinel in Afghanistan as well, serving as a drill instructor, company first sergeant, acting sergeant major, across various commands from Camp Pendleton to Okinawa, Japan. Personal awards include the Meritorious Service Medal, the Navy and Marine Corps Commendation Medal, and the Navy and Marine Corps Achievement Medal, and various other service and campaign medals. We welcome him today. And approaching the reviewing stand, Rear Admiral Robert C. Nowakowski. Rear Admiral Nowakowski, United States Navy Deputy Commander, Naval Education and Training Command, Force Deployment. Rear Admiral Nowakowski, a native of Chicago, Illinois, graduating from Northwestern University in 1992 with a Bachelor of Science in Biomedical Engineering, holding advanced degrees in Mechanical Engineering and Business Administration. Please help me welcome Colonel Ahave Brown, Jr., Commander of the 412th Maintenance Group at Edwards Air Force Base. Colonel Brown leads 1,800 civilian and military personnel at 143 maintenance facilities, performing developmental test and evaluation on 53 highly modified test aircraft across 5 squadrons. He's participated in Desert Shield, Desert Storm, Provide Comfort, Iraqi Freedom, Enduring Freedom. He is a veteran of action on the field. He holds a master's degree in aeronautical science from Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University and a master's degree in strategic studies from the Marine Corps War College. He is accompanied by his wife, Tasha. Please welcome Colonel Brown. And a warm welcome to Colonel Andrew Dermanowski. Colonel Dermanowski is commander of the Space Base Delta III at Los Angeles Air Force Base, El Segundo. Colonel Dermanowski leads 5 squadrons, 11 staff agencies, providing superior support services to over 7,000 personnel. $1 billion in physical plant assets, managing the execution of a $61.4 million budget. And ladies and gentlemen, you know the parade has actually begun when the prologue sign arrives, when the Cub Scouts are marching. Round of applause for the youngest members of our community who actually support the U.S. military. In the distance approaching, the Torrance High Tartar Marching Band and Color Guard. Torrance High School, the Tartar Marching Band and Color Guard, so happy to return under the direction of Drum Major Chloe White Spurlock and Director Eric Hankey. Ladies and gentlemen, the Torrance High Tartar Marching Band and Color Guard. And right on their heels, we have our World War II veterans. World War II vets riding in the parade are from all branches of the military, ranging from 103 years old to 94. Serving our country in Iwo Jima, Okinawa, Pearl Harbor, Guadalcanal, Normandy, keeping America free. Riding today, we have Ralph DeLibero, serving in the U.S. Navy, Leroy Forehand in Aviation Ordnance First Class in the Navy, Leon Silverman, serving as a Navy Seaman First Class, dispersing as a company storekeeper, Michael McKenney, served in Vietnam. Bob Downing served as a Marines PT. Charles Deemer Jr. riding in honor of his father, Charles Deemer Sr., working as a Merchant Marine. Patrick Zalakis, a U.S. Navy Lieutenant Junior grade on the USS Spot Marine, sinking 17 ships, a radar station, and a bus. Thomas Martini, serving as a captain in the United States Air Force, a helicopter pilot in Vietnam in 71 and 73. Billy Sloniker, a staff sergeant, tail gunner aboard a B-17 Flying Fortress, serving in the 3rd Division of the 8th Air Force 285th Bombardment Group. Joe Etheridge, a staff sergeant in the U.S. Army, serving throughout the South Pacific. Also with them, Bill Stewart, a staff sergeant, Harry Hammer, a corporal and third-class petty officer, Ralph Gonzalez, serving in the Navy from 43 to 45 in World War II, the door gate operator in the Assault Beach Higgins landing craft at Iwo Jima, Okinawa, and the Philippines. We'd like to remember those veterans that couldn't be with us here today. Russell Mayer, Harry Wilson, Bob Sellers, Merle Moore, Norm Harrelson, Glenn Clanan, Charles Deemer, and Joseph DeMills, and all the others that we've lost. God bless our heroes, ladies and gentlemen. They are indeed the greatest generation. The men and women who gave their hearts, their souls, to keep us free at a time when it could have gone completely the other direction. Bill Stewart of the Air Force, ladies and gentlemen, these are men who saw combat when you and I may not have even been born. We welcome them, we cheer them, we tip our hats to their service. Ladies and gentlemen, thank a veteran for their service and our freedom, the World War II vets. Approaching the podium, please welcome Diane Tenoy, representing her uncle, World War II Congressional Medal of Honor recipient, Technical Sergeant Ted Tenoy. Ted Tenoy was born and raised in Torrance, serving with extraordinary courage in the famed 442nd Regimental Combat Team. And right behind her are Ryan and Casey Takashima, brother and sister, the nephew and niece of Korean War Congressional Medal of Honor recipient, Private First Class Wataru Nakamura. Private First Class Nakamura posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor this year for extraordinary heroism during the Korean War in '51, bravely volunteering to repair a communications line coming under fire, rushing the enemy alone. We welcome them and we honor them.
Hi, my name is Bernard Neely. I'm stationed at Port Owen National Training Center, and I'm participating in this year's 63rd Annual Torrance Army Parade. I think it's a good experience for everybody to come out and see all the different equipment and all the different events that everybody needs to be a part of.
Now, this morning, the Torrance Area Chamber of Commerce, along with UCLA Health, hosted the 5K. The fastest man, who you see before you, David Delatorre, and the fastest woman, Claire Collison. Round of applause for them, folks. And approaching the podium, the Veterans of Foreign Wars. Veterans of Foreign Wars and the Veterans of Foreign Wars Auxiliary, two of the largest nonprofit veterans organizations in the nation. Round of applause for them, please. The Veterans of Foreign Wars and the Veterans of Foreign Wars Auxiliary collectively have more than 200 years of fostering Americanism through patriotism. Riding on the float, Department of California VFW State Commander Deb Johnson, Department of California State VFW Auxiliary President Sharonda Lewis, VFW 4th District Commander Doug Perkins, VFW Auxiliary 4th District President Cherie Bryant, and valuable members of the Veterans of Foreign Wars. Ladies and gentlemen, presenting the Vietnam Veterans of America, South Bay, Chapter 53. A nationwide service organization specifically chartered by Congress to serve Vietnam vets and their families. They provide assistance to vets of all wars, past, present, and future. The founding principle is their motto: never again will one generation of veterans abandon another. And here we have the Republic of Vietnam Armed Forces Veterans. Republic of Vietnam Armed Forces Veterans Association, representing members from all branches of service participating in the Vietnam War. More than 350,000 Republic of Vietnam soldiers sacrificed their lives, along with 58,000 U.S. soldiers and over 6,000 soldiers of the Allied forces. And once again, a reminder, ladies and gentlemen, thousands of soldiers are still missing in action, still unaccounted for. Today we honor them. This year, by the way, is the 50th anniversary commemoration of the Vietnam War. The stories are being highlighted in a new exhibition, partnering with the Warrior Heritage Foundation. Ladies and gentlemen, the USO. Since 1941, the USO, lifting the spirits of America's troops and strengthening the well-being of the people serving in the military and their families. The USO is a private, non-profit organization. They provide USO programs and services to troops and their families, more than 3 dozen major and auxiliary military installations. And it appears as if the USO is coming right on the heels of the Korean-American Vietnam War Brothers Unite plenary. We welcome all additions to the parade, even if they don't happen to be in the script. And ladies and gentlemen, now a warm welcome for the USO. Together with staff and over 500 volunteers, the USO will serve more than 230,000 troops and their families this year alone. This is the USO. And ladies and gentlemen, it's a proud tradition here at the Torrance Armed Services Day Parade. Our mass oath of enlistment. Marching into place before you, several brave young men and women participating and preparing to join all the various branches of the United States military. This continues to be one of the largest mass oath of enlistment ceremonies conducted publicly. It's a valued tradition. At a time when our nation has been supporting democracy around the globe, especially fitting that we recognize the sacrifices that these young men and women are willing to make in defense of our great nation. They are truly the cream of the crop of our society, representing less than 1% of all eligible men and women in this nation, and will continue the honored tradition of defending the freedoms that we've all enjoyed in this nation for 250 years. And performing the oath of enlistment is our Grand Marshal, Lieutenant General Jonathan Braga.
Would this work if I move down there? Thanks, Rick. All right, what an honor it is to enlist you in the Armed Forces on Armed Forces Day, 63rd annual here at Torrance Day. So what an honor it is for me to be part of your ceremony to choose to wear the cloth of the nation. I'm inspired by everyone in this formation right here, and I mean that. I'd trade places with any one of you right now to start my journey over again on the privileged path you're about to join. And I thank you for raising your right hand and taking this oath. Okay. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. Do solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and I bear true faith and allegiance to the same, and I'll obey the orders of the President and the officers appointed over me in accordance with the Uniform Code of Military Justice. So help me God. Welcome to the Armed Forces of America. Thank you for joining the nation's military, each and every one of you. Put your hands down. Round of applause for your newest members of the United States military. Thank you all. Proud of each and every one of you. We'll see you down the range.
And a great big thank you to Lieutenant General Jonathan Braga and all of our new recruits in the U.S. military. There they go, folks, defending the country, the newest crop of those who will stand in harm's way for us. Well, looks like we have a Douglas C-47 Skytrain, the What's Up Doc, inbound, able to get low enough on this cloud deck so we can see them. Owned by the Palm Springs Air Museum. You can see them approaching from the right, straight overhead. C-47 Skytrain, initially delivered to the Royal Air Force, called the Dakota. Douglas C-47 went on to serve the air forces of Belgium, France, Israel, maintained in continual active service until 1997, and perhaps we'll get another swing around. Weather's been somewhat of a challenge. We've had a number of aircraft that couldn't actually make it through because of the cloud cover, the low deck as they call it. We'll do our best to break through. And even as we speak, The North High Saxon Regiment Marching Band and Color Guard. North High School. Ladies and gentlemen, the Saxon Regiment is under the student leadership of Drum Major Kyle Casimiro and Assistant Drum Major Catherine Kubota. Section leaders, High Woodwind Section leaders Mika Kinoshita and Suzuhata. And approaching the podium, the United States Army Horse Detachment. A warm welcome, please. The 11th ACR Horse Detachment, the preeminent cavalry unit in the United States Army dedicated to preserving the rich heritage and traditions of the 11th Armored Cavalry Regiment. And of course, adhering to meticulous historical accuracy, the detachment dons replicated 1901 uniforms, uses authentic equipment paying homage to the regiment's storied past. This unit, by the way, has distinguished itself as a champion of equestrian excellence, having earned top honors at the National Cavalry Competition for 6 consecutive years. Approaching the podium, ladies and gentlemen, United States Army Dismounted Squad, the 11th ACR Combat Patrol, consisting of dismounted infantrymen from the 11th Armored Cavalry Regiment. This is the wedge formation. The wedge formation is the basic formation for dismounted elements. A rifle squad consisting of 2 4-man fire teams, each fire team consisting of a fire team leader, an automatic rifleman, a grenadier, and a grenade launcher. Ladies and gentlemen, United States Army M88A2 Heavy Recovery Vehicle. The M88A2 Hercules. A heavy equipment recovery combat lift and evacuation vehicle. This is the primary 70-ton recovery system used during Operation Iraqi Freedom, the Hercules. Unmatched stability and performance. This is the M88, offering operational and logistics commonality with the existing tank fleet. For those of you in the know, the Hercules features overlay armor protection, ballistic skirts, a 35-ton boom, a 140,000-pound constant pull main winch. This is quite a vehicle. Along with the M1A2 Abrams main battle tank. United States Army Corps of Engineers, ladies and gentlemen, responsible for projects across 226,000 square miles of Southern California, Arizona, Nevada, and a sliver of Utah. Protecting 420 miles of shoreline from Morro Bay to the Mexican border. supporting 9 military installations. Army Corps of Engineers was established in 1898. And they've also, by the way, been deployed to support the communities affected by the wildfires, even in the Palisades. The Corps of Engineers. And we welcome the Bishop Montgomery High School Thunder by Night Music. Ladies and gentlemen, this marks their 10th parade performance. They continue to honor our nation's heroes with every step. And now the United States Army Reserve Humvee, ladies and gentlemen. 7th Battalion, 104th Regiment Transportation Corps out of Bell, California. Commanded by LTC George Merlos and CSM Michael Haroun. They provide transportation, military, occupational specialty reclassification, non-commissioned officer education school phase 2 training to all branches of the services and DoD civilians. And you see before you the California Army National Guard mine-resistant ambush-protected MRAP ATV. Heavily armored, off-road capable, designed to protect troops from roadside bombs and IEDs. Built by Oshkosh Defense. And approaching the podium is the California Army National Guard M1126 Stryker. Army National Guard's recruit sustainment program designed to prepare new recruits for the challenges of basic combat training as well. Approaching the podium, the California Army National Guard HETS. This is the Heavy Equipment Transporter System, a powerful logistics vehicle designed to transport tanks and other heavily armored vehicles like the M1 Abrams over long distances. It consists of an M1070 tractor and the M1000 trailer working together, hauling loads over 70 tons. The HETS allows the Army to move heavy equipment quickly without adding unnecessary wear and tear to combat vehicles. And right on their heels, ladies and gentlemen, the Honorable Mario Guerra. Round of applause, please. Mr. Guerra currently serves as civilian aide to the Secretary of the Army and carries a 3-star protocol. Sworn in at the Hall of Heroes at the Pentagon, January 2017, he reports directly to the Army Secretary. He's only one of 500 to have ever served in that position since 1922. He has served 4 presidents and 5 Army secretaries. The Honorable Mario Guerra. And it appears for this 63rd edition Torrance Armed Forces Day Parade, we've avoided the rain. Looked like a little bit of a sprinkle to begin with. low cloud deck kind of limiting the planes that were able to get out of Torrance Airport and fly overhead. We still appreciate the ones that are able to do it. But as those of you who have been here for years and years know, those of you who came as kids, those of you who now bring your children to honor the military and the military tradition, the City of Torrance has been doing this a long time, since 1960. I don't know if some of you remember, it began with Mayor Al Eisen, the Chamber of Commerce, organizing the first parade as a tribute to friends and fellow Americans who served in the military. This was a homegrown thing. It's grown over the years, obviously. It's one of America's most eagerly awaited, anticipated demonstrations of patriotism, drawing up to 100,000 spectators a year, watching as many as 8,000 parade participants, and the mass oath of enlistment. Once again, this parade has the distinction of being the nation's longest running military parade sponsored by any city in the country. It doesn't get any better than this. It doesn't have a history any longer than that of Torrance. And we're so happy to host them and so happy to have you here. And approaching the North High School Army JROTC. This is the North High School Junior Reserve Officers Training Corps, founded at North High, September 1997. It's been an honor unit with distinction for many years, and still is currently. Their mission is to motivate young people to be better citizens. They develop their citizenship, their patriotism, enhancing self-reliance, leadership and teamwork, communication skills, gaining a deeper understanding of America's national heritage. This program is actually designed to prepare students for college, not to join the military necessarily. They offer multiple scholarships on an annual basis. Current student leadership consists of cadets Clarissa Adame and Harry Newey. And the South High Spartan Band and Color Guard.
Ready, front! Go, Saxon!
The Spartan Band and Color Guard, an award-winning program. By the way, in this past fall competition season, they took home top scores and sweepstakes in 4 of the competitions. Under the field direction of Olivia Cho, Justin Coe, Sabrina Pungpian, and Daniel Park, South High Band Director is Caitlin Brock. And welcome once again, United States Navy Jeep, one more year at the parade. Commander Dave Rupp and his 1946 Navy duty Jeep. And this year Dave has as his guest Elizabeth Dye, who is the district deputy for the Redondo Beach Elks. A nice round of applause for them, please, and their years of service to this community and the parade. An American hero and a stalwart fixture in the American aircraft supply, the North American Aviation T-6 Texan overhead, once again, number 4, fourth of our aircraft. As we welcome the United States Navy USS Nevada replica, one of the all-time great participants in this Armed Forces Day parade. A scale model of the 40-foot battleship Nevada. Tremendous detail you see here. The work of the late John Stewart, supported by a group of volunteers. Driven by Mr. Dennis Lanfranco, USS Nevada.
Hi, I am Chief Josue Escobosa. I am a Torrance native. I am the Public Affairs Officer for Navy Recruiting here in the Los Angeles area. I want to thank the people of Torrance for hosting us, for having this parade. It means a lot to us. And congratulations to the Army on their 250th. Too bad they still lost to the Navy. Go Navy.
And following them, United States Marine Corps 5th Battalion, 14th Marines Battery N. They're towing an M777A2 howitzer, being towed by an MTVR, better known as a 7-ton, by the Marines. This is known throughout the globe as the King of Battle. And as you applaud them, ladies and gentlemen, overhead a North American Aviation B-25 PBJ Mitchell bomber. The Marines use that aircraft extensively in the South Pacific. PB is patrol bomber, hence the PBJ. It's the only one flying today, hailing from the Commemorative Air Force in Camarillo. And United States Marine Corps recruiting. These are the U.S. Marine Corps representatives for the Los Angeles and Orange County. Recruiting Station, Orange County. Seeking out young men and women to join an organization dedicated to honor, courage, and commitment. They are the United States Marine Corps. And a warm welcome for United States Marine Corps retired Ernest Gunny Napper. Gunnery Sergeant Napper served during the Vietnam War and in Desert Shield, Desert Storm during the Gulf War, retiring last year from Disneyland, where he honored our veterans, 30 years at the Disneyland Flag Retreat Ceremony. And ladies and gentlemen, Redondo Union High School's Marine Corps JROTC. Warm welcome. For over 4 decades, since 1982, they've been shaping tomorrow's leaders. They're guided by their dedicated student leaders, Cadet Captain Mink Jo, Cadet Sergeant Major Luca Richardson. These cadets excel in leadership, discipline, physical fitness, civic engagement. We once again show our support for these young individuals. Well, for those of you that have been here year after year, I want to thank you for your participation. Thank you for coming out in all sorts of weather. We know that this parade's been going on over 60 years. There have been periods of non-support during anti-war sentiments and hard economic times. Back in '79, you remember the parade was almost canceled because of a lack of funds. Remember from 20 to 22, the global pandemic, we had to postpone the parade out of an abundance of caution. But the parade returns, and we return. In fact, one could argue we never left. And we see approaching the podium now, United States Air Force Marching Unit. The U.S. Air Force, protecting the nation's airspace and that of its allies from enemy aircraft and missiles, maintaining global strike capabilities, long-range weapon systems attacking threats anywhere in the world, and leading the Guardians, our space-based Delta III, Senior Enlisted Leader Master Sergeant Joshua Sanders, and Guidon Bearer Adrian Young. May I have your applause, please, for the United States Air Force Marching Unit. Once again, the U.S. Air Force Marching Unit. Their motto, aim high, fly, fight, and win. And now taking the spotlight, United States Air Force 61st Security Forces Squadron. From Los Angeles Air Force Base, headquarters for the U.S. Space Force's Space Systems Command. These military and civilian defenders are the police of the United States Air Force, standing as the first line of defense for some of the most advanced military missions on Earth and beyond. They are the protectors of people, property, and national security, from securing the base to responding to emergencies. Their presence ensures safety, order, readiness at all times. They don't just wear the uniform, they embody the mission. A round of applause for the 61st Security Forces Squadron.
Hi, I'm Second Lieutenant Dorian Maynard. I'm currently a contracting specialist at Space Systems Command Base in El Segundo, California. I just want to say thank you from both the Air Force and Space Force. I'm super glad to be a part of this and being able to represent both branches.
And ladies and gentlemen, you hear them in the distance, you see them approaching. It's the West High Entertainment Unit, one of the most widely traveled high school organizations in the Western United States. They have performed everywhere from their hometown in Torrance to the National Football League in Europe. Widely recognized for success throughout Southern California, a renowned reputation for excellence both nationally and internationally. The West High Entertainment Unit. And thank you once again to the West High Entertainment Unit. Approaching the podium, the United States Coast Guard Maritime Safety and Security Team. Here we see the impressive 29-foot response boat Small from Station Los Angeles Long Beach and Maritime Safety and Security Team, showcasing the Coast Guard's commitment to maritime safety and security. A versatile vessel, a vital asset in search and rescue missions, law enforcement, environmental protection along the California coast, and advanced capability, a skilled crew, this boat plays a crucial role in ensuring the safety of our waters and the communities they serve. And ladies and gentlemen, the Coast Guard Port Security Unit 311. Since commissioning in 1995, Port Security Unit 311, located on Terminal Island, is the U.S. Coast Guard's dedicated rapid response expeditionary force and is uniquely reserve only, providing forward security to forward deployed ports, bases around the world, operating jointly with other U.S. forces, commanded by Commander Patrick Hanley, and today the 32-foot Generation 4 transportable port security boat.
Hi, I'm Petty Officer Richard Ranger with the United States Coast Guard, and I'm a public affairs specialist, and just want to thank the Army for hosting this year's Torrance Armed Forces Day Parade.
And here we have the U.S. Coast Guard Aids to Navigation Team. A warm welcome for them, ladies and gentlemen, please. The U.S. Coast Guard Aids to Navigation Team Los Angeles Long Beach, made up of personnel responsible for servicing aids to navigation along the California coast from Dana Point to Morro Bay. Their primary asset, the 26-foot trailerable aids to navigation boat, capable of working buoys and hoisting up to 500 pounds. United States Coast Guard Auxiliary Personal Watercraft, beckoning us to give a round of applause to the police officers who are working the parade today and who have put on the parade in general. This is the vessel Adesso II, owned by Commodore Al Verdi. A round of applause for Mr. Verdi, please. It's a 2007 Sea-Doo 255 Tomcat, equipped with a full navigation suite, twin hull design, twin outboard design, advanced stability, working the port of Los Angeles Long Beach, assisting the Coast Guard. By the way, listen to this. Adesso II is the 2024 Silver National Award winner for Rescue at Sea. On July 2nd, 2023, the crew, including Al Verde, rescued 7 people from a boat off Pier J at Los Angeles Long Beach. What they do has saved lives.
Hi, I'm Richard Horner. I'm with the U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary. We augment the active duty, and we do boater safety, and you get your boaters class from us as well. And this is an exciting event. I want to thank the Army, their 250th anniversary, for being the featured branch.
And here we have a second Coast Guard Auxiliary personal watercraft. This is the Day Tripper, also owned by Commodore Al Verdi. It's a Sea-Doo Fish Pro conversion for search and rescue, equipped with a full navigation suite. We thank Al and his crew for patrolling the port of Los Angeles Long Beach, assisting the Coast Guard for search and rescue, ever watchful for potential hazards and threats. And ladies and gentlemen, approaching the podium, the Richardson Middle School Band and Color Guard. From right here in Torrance, pleased to be making their annual appearance at the Armed Forces Day Parade under the direction of Carrie Willett. All students performing today are in grades 6th, 7th, and 8th. Their musical selection is Make Way for Melody by Leon Metcalf. A warm welcome. And please usher in with a warm welcome the Los Angeles County Mounted Enforcement. The Community Partnership Bureau Mounted Enforcement Detail is a specialized unit within the Sheriff's Department using horseback patrol to enhance public safety and community engagement. The horses are personally owned by the deputies. They have to pass rigorous training and qualification regimens before deploying and being used for work. They're part of the Sheriff's response team, assisting in crowd control, search and rescue on a countywide level as well, coordinating with the Department of Animal Control during major emergencies. And by the way, the Mounted Enforcement Detail played a major role in evacuating horses and livestock in the recent fires. The Mounted Enforcement Detail, ladies and gentlemen. And United States Space Force Guardians, ladies and gentlemen. Now introducing the U.S. Space Force. The Space Force protects our country and the freedom to operate in space, keeping it secure, stable, and accessible for military space power and new waves of innovation. Leading the Guardians, our Space Systems Command Senior Enlisted Leader, Chief Master Sergeant Jacqueline Sauvé, and Guidon Bearer Master Sergeant Stephen Ham, the United States Space Force Guardians. And following them is the Space Force Vulcan rocket model, getting ready for launch. This is a newly commissioned Vulcan Centaur rocket developed by United Launch Alliance, headquartered in Los Angeles, charged with delivering the nation's most advanced space capabilities, from satellite communications and missile warning to GPS and launch services, leading the effort, ensuring our space assets are resilient, responsive, and ready to secure America's interests in, from, and to space. A big round of applause for the Space Force and Space Systems Command. They make an appearance every year, ladies and gentlemen, and this year is no different. St. Catherine's Academy approaching the podium even as we speak, an all-boys Catholic school with a military tradition founded in 1889 by the Dominican Sisters of Mission San Jose. Teaching young men self-discipline, teamwork. Parents, if you send your kids here, you're going to notice a big boost in your son's self-confidence, growing into a strong, polite young man, and the monthly haircuts are free. St. Catherine's Academy, please, a warm welcome. St. Catherine's Academy, show them some love. Ladies and gentlemen, next we have the Beach Cities Cadet Squadron 107 Knights Civil Air Patrol. Cadet Squadron 107 Knights have been an active part of the South Bay for over 77 years. Civil Air Patrol, a non-profit organization chartered by Congress and the official civilian auxiliary United States Air Force. And before you is the color guard consisting of 4 of the advanced cadets, and following them is one of the vehicles towing a glider used by the cadets for flight training based at Los Alamitos Armed Forces Reserve Center, offering cadets the opportunity to obtain their sailplane license. The Beach Cities Cadet Squadron. And now we have the Sons of the American Revolution. Presenting the colors today, the Sons of the American Revolution Color Guard, joined by members of the Daughters of the American Revolution and the Children of the American Revolution. Descendants of America's first veterans, a non-profit, non-partisan organization dedicated to honoring our nation's history and fostering patriotism. And following the Sons and Daughters of the American Revolution, the 1st North Carolina Civil War reenactors. Please welcome them once again. The 1st North Carolina Civil War reenactors is a group of Southern California Civil War reenactors, providing authentic living history for schools and other events throughout California. Their intent to honor the veterans, both blue and gray, who fought during a pivotal time in American history. Displaying once again our unification in love for our country. And ladies and gentlemen, last but not least, the Torrance Mounted Posse. Round of applause, please. Been serving the city of Torrance as a goodwill ambassador since 1953, led by Captain Brittany Roman. Members of the group participate in parades, community events, and educational opportunities, highlighting the history of the city of Torrance and the valuable contributions of horses throughout time. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we thank you for joining us for the 63rd Annual Torrance Armed Forces Day Parade. My name is Emmett Miller, and I look forward to seeing you next year.